Early voters have turned out in record numbers to choose between Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden in the 2020 election, often waiting in long lines for hours. A record 15 million Americans have already voted in the general election, and now analysts predict that the 2020 U.S. presidential election will have a historic turnout. Our next report takes an in-depth look at early voting trends and ongoing allegations of voter fraud. More than 15 million Americans have already cast their ballots in the U.S. presidential election, a record pace 3 weeks before Election Day on November 3rd. According to the U.S. Election Project of the University of Florida, the early vote count is significantly higher than it was at the same point in 2016, fueled by dramatic surges of mail-in voting. Meanwhile, American voters in the UK visited the U.S. Embassy in London to deliver their vote ahead of the election. Strategy consultant Patricia Wayne has lived in the UK for 9 years. She was among the people who took up the option of delivering her absentee ballot to the embassy's designated official ballot drop box.
I think that I am an American citizen, and one of the greatest important things that we do as part of being that democracy is voting, and so I've voted every time that we are able to. I always vote in the presidential elections especially, but I think especially this year you really recognize the importance of every individual vote and how much we can make a difference in changing the course not only of America but also kind of the global perspective that America has in the world.
Wayne says that this election was the first where she had received her ballot paper via email and felt more secure by taking her vote to the embassy.
The actual kind of process just seemed very flimsy to me to actually make its way all the way across the ocean. A friend, the embassy actually contacted us and let us know that this was an option, and it just felt like a more secure way in an environment where we are kind of questioning, I think, all of the aspects of mail-in voting. This felt like a more secure way for me to make sure that my voice was heard.
The embassy will send her ballot to a U.S. sorting office directly, which will then be distributed to the relevant election officials via the U.S. postal system. The surge in early voting comes amid a stubborn coronavirus pandemic, which has not only resulted in early voting, but also a rise in mail balloting. President Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed that voting by mail is prone to widespread fraud that would benefit his opponent, Joe Biden. Other Republicans have also challenged aspects of mail voting. In the battleground states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, courts this month held that mailed ballots arriving within certain time periods after Election Day must still be counted. Allegations of double voting in the southern U.S. state of Georgia have further fueled the politically charged debate over voter fraud. Georgia's top election official announced in September that as many as 1,000 voters may have double voted in the state's primary election back in June, showing up at the polls to vote after mailing in their ballots. That attempt was caught and did not change voting tallies. Here in New York, officials sent out botched ballots to nearly 100,000 Brooklyn residents. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's staff launched a last-minute attempt to stop New York City's Board of Elections from resending the ballots, fearing it would cause more chaos and confusion as some may vote twice. While Democrats and voting right groups say voter fraud is rare, many Republicans believe it is more prevalent than is commonly known. Despite the politically fraught debate, voting continues. In Chicago, ballots were cast early last week, while more than 500,000 mail-in ballots were sent out in Miami-Dade County, Florida. And in the state of Arizona, voters had different reasons for showing up early.
This is a huge election for America, and so many things are at risk and at stake that we wanted to physically walk in, because there's been speculation of, possibly contaminating the election results and stuff like that.
You have to be encouraged to vote, the way your passion drives you, not the way somebody else tells you, or because you don't feel like it's going to matter one way or the other.
As for New York, early voting will start on October 24th. Requests by mail ballots must be sent by October 27th, and of course, polls will be open on Election Day, November 3rd. Susan Tehrani from New York for WION. World is One.